The land for Lakeview contains the lake itself and that expansion in the back. Do try to remember that you have that and actually make use of it as you go further into the scenario. I personally try to keep the main action of the theme park in or around the lake itself because that is the main feature of the scenario. But around year 2 or approaching year 3, I end up using the expansion in the back, but I don't use all of it. The paths here originally go around the entire lake, which is overall good, but since I don't have enough attractions to make it worthwhile, I usually shorten the path by removing one, but here I got rid of all of it just for the sake of convenience and replace it entirely because I've been doing that for the last 2 scenarios, so I might as well make it a trend for the videos. The roller coaster there is Lakeview that you saw in Forest Frontiers. Like I said, I originally built this the last time I played Leafy Lake as a scenario, so I decided to just build it again and in pretty much the same place as it was the last time I played the scenario. Fun fact, Lakeview was actually really popular there, and it was going well until year 2 or approaching year 3, where a station brakes failure resulted in a horrible crash and I had to remove the roller coaster. I'm building a boat hire here. Usually I don't build these because they're generally not that exciting, but Leafy Lake is a very water-based area, so I might as well make use of the various water-based attractions that you can have. And having it go through Lakeview did add more excitement to it, and I usually do these only with the rails because if you don't, then the guests just row out into the water and they are very likely to not come back for a long time, and people will start complaining in the queue line that it takes too long. I also build a bridge through half of the lake, not only because it gives me more reason to do more in the lake, it also serves as a shortcut to the other end of the lake itself for the guests. So I lower this for later construction and I unlock the mine train. The Manic Miner is the dynamite blaster from Dynamite Dunes, but with its original name, and minecart was there. I wasn't sure if that was one of mine or if this was a pre-built one that I had forgotten existed, but I looked at it and it was one that I had made myself. I actually built it here in Lakeview previously, so instead of wasting time and money trying to build a new mine train, I just built one that I technically already had. So that was a quick little thing to build. I did end up getting rain right after I completed it, which I ended up noticing being a bit of a it was a bit of a theme in the scenario. As soon as I put a roller coaster down and was ready to open, it ended up raining. The thing is, guests will go for new stuff in your park, even when it's raining, but it won't be as popular when it isn't raining. So I'm replacing the merry-go-round here with a monorail. I originally wanted to put it where the merry-go-round was, but it didn't have enough room, so I put it a bit further there. Just like in Dynamite Dunes, I use the monorail as a sort of shuttle service to go from one end of the lake to the other. It overall ends up somewhat decently popular, especially here where I kept having to mess with the ground in the lake because the supports didn't go that well, so I kept having to put it up. I also have the monorail going through the entirety of Lakeview, which actually ended up giving the monorail quite a bit of excitement, so it was a lot more popular than it usually would be. I also made the train station platform a bit longer than I usually do, simply because I wanted one long train so that as many passengers could go there at once and the queue lengths wouldn't be too long. I usually end up, as I use the expansion and the land back, I actually end up putting a third station in, but this time I didn't end up doing that. This particular crazy vole roller coaster, I believe you'll see it in the next scenario, or at least you see it in Diamond Heights again, under a different name and with a bit of a different setup. But here it overall worked really well. I noticed it was actually trains and not just carts themselves, but I decided to not close the ride down and then change what it was again. Here I'm building another log flume, once more water-based attractions that you want to use, and I do want to make sure to have the log flume here go through the looping of Shuttle Loop there, simply because of excitement ratings. That is one of the most fun things you can do for roller coasters or other attractions. You have them go through the loopings of other attractions or go through their own loopings. You'll also see it was October year 2. I believe by June year 2 I had already gotten the 500 guests into my park that I needed to complete the scenario. I do have to mention one of the problems with this scenario and any other with water. I don't like how I consider it more difficult to put paths down correctly for the handyman and the mechanics for water. I had moments where I believe it was minecart in this scenario where I had the mechanic walking around, but turns out I didn't have it clicked properly so that it could go into the entrance of the ride, so it wasn't being expected at all. Here you have the river rapids that you unlock. I originally put them there, but then I noticed the elevation, so I don't really want that. I actually get rid of here so that it remains on the same level. So the river rapids are, overall they can be pretty exciting. They're a bit like the log flumes, but a bit faster. And they have more customization options. As you can see, you have stuff like whirlpools, twisters, waterfalls. And here we're getting to the end of it because most of the time I was just sitting around waiting for it to finish already. And we end off with 51,441.